Welcome back to Zero Sum Gaming here at the Culture Cache. Leslie from North Dakota sent us Kirby's Adventure on the NES. This is my favorite entry in the Kirby series, so let's get right to it.
Kirby's Adventure was one of the last games released for the NES, and it shows. And I mean that literally. Just look at the game. I know the visuals aren't exactly jaw-dropping by 2016 standards, but keep in mind that this is the NES. As a comparison, take a look at one of the game's contemporaries. And no, I'm not going to cherry-pick some terrible game to prove a point. I'm picking a much-beloved classic. My secret gaming shame. I died to the first Goomba in Super Mario Bros. Okay, I did it on purpose. This time. But seriously, both of these games are for the same system. It's true that they're years apart, almost 10 to be exact, but the point remains. This is a good-looking game, period. It looks amazing for the NES. Many people say that the NES isn't capable of parallax scrolling, but this game, and a few others, proves otherwise. It also boasts a simple 3D effect on some levels, where Kirby has to run around towers. The towers actually rotate as he runs around them. Another NES game that does this, but few will ever make it far enough into the game to see it, is Battletoads. Like the visuals, the audio in Kirby's Adventure is top-notch. If you've ever enjoyed a Smash Bros. Game, you'll recognize some of the music here. It's all great. For the most part, music is upbeat and peppy, but there are plenty of other tracks that aren't, and they're just as good. Some are relaxing, others are mysterious, but they're all great. The sound effects are generally good as well, but every now and then, if you have a lot going on at once, some sounds will get dropped. It's not that big of a deal, and it's a pretty common NES problem, but it's worth bringing up. Another common NES malady that plagues this game is slowdown. If you have many enemies on the screen, you're just going to have to expect it to slow down. Similarly, if you have a busy ability that places even more objects on screen, you'll just have to get used to that slower speed of the game. The spark ability seems to be the worst, but not the only offender in this regard. This might seem like a weird point to bring up next, considering that it's been 23 years, but this is actually the game where Kirby first demonstrated his ability to copy enemies' attacks. It's strange that this is, perhaps, what he is best known for, but in his first outing, Kirby's Dream Land, he lacked this awesome trait. The variety of abilities you can use in this game is surprisingly huge. While not all of them are useful, the vast majority of them are at least functional. Experiment with some different ones, and find one you like. Personally, I like Parasol and Cutter. And of course, UFO is an outstanding ability. Too bad you can't take it with you when you leave a level like you can the other abilities. If you get hit while you have an ability, it'll fly out of you in the shape of a star. If you manage to eat that star, you'll recover your ability. But if it gets away or gets hit by anything, your ability is lost forever. Or at least until the next time you eat that enemy. But since variety is the name of the game... Wait, no it's not, it's Kirby's Adventure. Anyway, I do like to experience the wide array of gameplay, so I almost never chase down abilities when I lose them. I'll just grab the next conveniently placed bad guy and gobble him up to get a new power. Having said that, this isn't a very difficult game. Kirby games tend to be fairly easy, and this one is no exception. It's great fun, but if you're looking for a challenge, you'll have to look elsewhere. But I don't want you to think that just because the game is easy, that it's devoid of content. Many levels have secret switches that open up rewards. Some of these are fairly obvious, but others are well hidden, or require a very specific ability in order to access them. You can tell if you still have something to do in a level by the color of the door. Orange doors still have something for you to find within them. It's a blast hunting down all the secrets this game has to offer. finding secrets for fun and profit. Not only do you get the immediate reward of bonus games for finding the hidden stuff, but if you complete the game 100%, you unlock the extra game. If the main game is too easy for you, which it very likely is, the extra game solves that problem. Your max health is only 3 instead of the normal 6. You start with fewer lives, and even the mini-games have become more difficult, making it harder to amass a giant stock of lives. Finishing the extra game with 100% completion unlocks the sound test. As mentioned, this game has some great music, so this can be a fun little reward to play with. If you manage perfect runs of the 3 mini-games, you can also unlock them as well. And notice that these are skill-based unlockables, not cash-grab DLC microtransactions. These mini-games offer a fun little break from the main game. The crane game is just like those ones you see in real life. Pick up the Kirby dolls for extra lives. Egg Catcher sees you having to eat the eggs, but not the bombs. Finally, Quick Draw is exactly what it sounds like. When you get the signal, fire before your opponent does. But whether you're messing around with the mini-games or tackling the primary quest, the gameplay of Kirby's Adventure is superb. I'd like to take a quick moment to point out that this is an all-ages game, not a kiddie game. Too often, Nintendo games get labeled as kiddie games, but their goal is that people of any age can enjoy them. This doesn't make them bad. Frankly, dumping buckets of boobs and blood into a mediocre game is much less mature than the rating would have you believe. I'm not saying that M-rated games are bad, but slapping said rating onto a game doesn't automatically make it good either. In fact, there's an element of the story that few youngsters are likely to recognize. I know that Kirby games aren't exactly renowned for their stories, but hear me out. In this game, the creatures of Planet Popstar have lost their ability to dream. King Dedede has broken the Star Rod into 7 pieces, and until it's reassembled and returned to the Fountain of Dreams, these dreamless nights will continue. At first, this looks like a kid-friendly good versus evil story where the stakes are fairly low, but it's more than that. King Dedede wanted to prevent nightmares from entering into the Fountain of Dreams. He's not truly evil after all, and he even assists Kirby just before the final battle. But let's extrapolate on this plot for a moment. Are we more like Kirby or Dedede? Are you willing to risk the bad in order to enjoy the good? Most of us would like to answer yes, but in practice, it's not always so clean-cut. If you truly value the First Amendment and the free speech protected by it, you have to allow even reprehensible speech to proceed unabated. It's even easier to see with Assembly. You don't have to like what they say. In fact, I hope you don't. But you still need to allow nutty groups like the Ku Klux Klan or the Westboro Baptist Church to express themselves. If not, you're actually silencing yourself, as you almost certainly hold some views that could be considered controversial as well. And this holds true for the no platforming nonsense and heckler's vetoes that are so common today. Every time behaviors like these are condoned, it's taking an axe to the tree of liberty. Let me put it another way. Few people would actually declare public support for book burning. But when it happens only one word at a time, those same people often champion it. How many books have we burned one word at a time? King Dedede, apparently unable to cope with the nightmares, is willing to give up his dreams to keep them at bay. Kirby has the mental fortitude to power through the bad in order to preserve the good. When you hear me rail against social justice warriors, this is precisely the reason. Every time they screech, they're advocating the scrubbing of ideas they don't like. They are the real-world embodiment of King Dedede's mindset put into action. Just something to think about, at least until the SJWs get their way and criticism of SJWs becomes hate speech too.
Well, is Kirby's Adventure worth it? You've probably already figured this out when I told you it's my favorite entry in the Kirby series, but yes, this game only goes for about $20. It's definitely worth that. $20 for perhaps the swan song of the NES? Oh yeah. But if you want a little more bang for your buck, you could always pick up Kirby's Dream Collection. It goes for about $35, and it does have this game in it and a whole lot more. Check either one out because they're both worth your time and your money. Thanks for watching.